my last video, I explained that my goal is to retire at 55 years old, which immediately raises the obvious question. How much money do you actually need to retire that early? Is it £500,000, 1 million, 2 million pounds? Because depending on who you ask online, then answers can be wildly different. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I've calculated my own number, the assumptions behind it, and the strategy I'm using to make it work here in the UK. And the truth is, the number does sound big at first, but when you break it down properly, it's actually much more achievable than people think. First step is understanding your expenses. The biggest mistake people make when thinking about retirement is starting with the investment number. They ask, how big does my portfolio need to be? But that's actually the wrong starting point. The real starting point is your annual spending, because retirement isn't about having a huge pile of money, it's about having enough invested that your investments can cover your lifestyle. Right now, my household spending is roughly £75,000 per year, and that includes everything. Mortgage, bills, food, kids, cars, holidays, and general spending. And that might sound high to some people and low to others, but the exact number isn't the important part. What matters is understanding your own cost of living, because that number determines everything else. Once you know your annual spending, you can start working backwards. One of the most common rules used in retirement planning is called the 4% rule. In simple terms, it suggests that if you withdraw around 4% of your investment portfolio each year, your money has historically lasted for decades. So, if someone needs £40,000 per year, they might aim for a portfolio of around £1 million, because 4% of £1 million is £40,000. Now, the 4% rule isn't perfect. Markets change, life changes, and everyone's situation is different. But it's a useful starting framework for planning. Using that framework, my rough target looks like this. If I want to support spending of around £75,000 per year, the traditional maths would suggest a portfolio of roughly £1.8 million. But here's where things get interesting, because my retirement income won't just come from one source. In the UK, we have multiple layers of retirement income. And when you start to factor those in, the number you need personally can drop quite a lot. My main retirement engine will be my pension. Under current rules, pensions in the UK can be accessed from 57. And one of the biggest advantages of pensions is tax relief. Money going into a pension receives government top-ups, which massively accelerates the growth over time. My plan is to reach around £1 million in my pension by the time I reach my late 50s. That might sound huge, but remember, pensions benefit from decades of compounding, tax relief, and employer contributions, which makes them one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available in the UK. But here's the challenge. I want to stop working at 55, and I can't access my pension until 57. So I need something to bridge those 2 years. That's where my stocks and shares ISA comes in. My plan is to build an ISA pot of roughly £250,000, and that money is completely tax-free and can be accessed anytime. From that pot, I'll use around £150,000 to cover my living expenses between 55 and 57. Then once my pension becomes available, the ISA can play a different role in the plan. There's one other piece of the puzzle, my mortgage. Like many people in the UK, my mortgage would normally run well into my 60s. In fact, my deal doesn't run out until I'm around 73. One of my priorities is to enter retirement mortgage-free. Under current rules, you can take 25% of your pension tax-free. So if my pension reaches the £1 million mark, that tax-free portion would be around £250,000. Combined with around £100,000 left in my ISA, that should be enough to clear the remaining mortgage balance when I reach pension access age, which dramatically reduces my living costs in retirement. Of course, I'm not starting from zero. Right now, at 41, I'm sitting at roughly £100,000 invested across my accounts. That includes my workplace pension, a self-invested personal pension, and my stocks and shares ISA investments, which means the challenge ahead is growing that into the numbers we've talked about over the next 14 years. That might sound ambitious, but when you combine consistent investing, tax advantages, employer contributions, and long-term market growth, it's more realistic than people think. If there's one thing I've learned over the past few years, it's this. Financial independence isn't about getting lucky. It's about building a system where you consistently invest, avoid lifestyle creep, take advantage of the tools available to you, and give compounding enough time to work. None of it's particularly exciting. It's actually pretty boring, but boring is exactly what works. So that's the number. Roughly £1 million in a pension, around £250,000 in an ISA, and a plan to step away from work at 55. Over the next few videos, I'm going to break down exactly how I'm investing, the mistakes I've made along the way, and the strategies that are helping me move closer to financial independence. If you're also interested in pensions, investing, and the FIRE journey in the UK, consider subscribing. And let me know in the comments, what does your version of financial independence look like? I'll see you in the next one.